Thank you for the intro, and shall I just take over and forward? Thanks, everyone. We have Shri Sanjeev Bikhchandani with us.
Hello.
As most of you know, he is the founder of Naukri. But I'll try to be brief. We are already late by about 10 minutes, and I don't want to take too much of time away, but do a quick intro. Executive Vice Chairman and founder of InfoEdge, which owns Naukri.com. Co-founder of the Ashoka University, which I think is a big initiative that's made a big change in education in the country. He was honored with the Padma Shri by the Government of India last year. Companies like Jeevan Saathi, 99 Acres, Shiksha.com are all out of his area of work, which he's come out with. He studied at the at St. Columbus School, St. Stephen's in Delhi, and then worked for a few years with Lintas, and then moved on to do his MBA from IIM Ahmedabad, after which he worked with Horlicks for a couple of years before he decided to do what he is doing today. Somebody who's probably made a big change in this sector. I'm going to stop the intro and straight away get on to what I thought I should start with. So I'll spend the first couple of minutes in terms of trying to get a feel of who Sanjeev is and why he did something like this. So Sanjeev, what I thought I'd ask you is, you studied in some of the best education institutions in the country, St. Columbus, St. Stephen's. Then you went to IIM Ahmedabad, worked with what one would call dream jobs at that time, Lintas on the advertising side. And then you worked with Horlicks. Why did you decide to do something of your own at that time?
Well, this has been a childhood dream since I was 12 or 13 years old. Look, at some point in time, someday, I would like to be independent and start my own enterprise. Of course, it remained a sort of fuzzy dream, fuzzy goal. Someday I will do it, one day I will do it. But, after working 5 years, I figured that, listen, I'm now, 26 or 27, and it's about time. And I don't want to leave it too late. And so I took the plunge.
And, today, if you talk about a business on the net, looking at something like Naukri, people would really, yeah, that's something good. But at that time, this was something which nobody had really ventured. What made you look at doing something like Naukri?
So when I was in my last job at HMM, the Horlicks company, I observed that when the office copy of the Business India magazine would come in, all my colleagues would read it from the back. We used to sit in an open hall so I could see what people were doing. And as a magazine went from desk to desk, I figured that all my colleagues are reading it from the back, always. And that is because there were 35 to 40 pages of appointment ads at the back of the magazine in those days. It was the #1 appointment ad medium for managers. And then they would start discussing the jobs. Hey, there's this job going here. What do you think? And, and so on. And these are people who are happy in their jobs, happy with the company, are being paid well, and they don't want to switch, so they will not apply. Yet they're discussing jobs. And from here, I realized that, jobs are a high interest category of information. Right? And when I saw the net for the first time, I got the idea that, listen, why don't we just get all the newspapers and magazines from around the country and take the job ads and put them in our own words and put them on the net and see what happens. Because if people are interested in jobs, we will get traffic. And this is what we did. We got 29 newspapers and magazines into our office every week and put up the job ads, and traffic began to come. Once traffic came, we sort of told companies that, listen, if you advertise in the paper, we'll take it free of cost. But if there's jobs you're not advertised, and many jobs are not advertised, right? Then you send it to us, and for a small sum of money, we'll put it up on our website. And slowly revenue began to come in. I think the first year we did about 2.5 lakh rupees, a little less than that, 2,35,000. Second year, it went to 18 lakhs. Now, I had never seen anything grow, 7x, even of a small place in 1 year.
Yeah.
So that's when we realized after 1 year, what we thought was a small idea we have stumbled upon something big, maybe. Right? Mm-hmm. And so let's just drop everything else and become an internet company. And that's how it happened.
Good. today, people, let me just ask you, I know it's a very hypothetical question, but if it was during the times like we went through in the last 1.5 years, what would you start?
So
Or maybe you started something in the last 1.5 years, but what do you think you would have started?
I don't know which specific idea, but I'll tell you the method will remain the same.
Yeah.
Observe your customer, observe your consumer, figure out from their habits and behavior, get some insight about an unsolved problem. And if you can solve that unsolved problem, you will have a successful business. So the method remains the same. I have not thought about what actual business I would have started in the last 1.5 years, but the method remains the same.
Today there's this, people are talking about the great resignation that's going on, and you find that the attrition rates in companies have gone 2 times, 3 times, etc. Are you finding it tough to attract talent and retain them? And why do you think this sudden churn has happened?
So look, this churn started from the IT industry, right? Because with COVID and work from home, right, companies and economies have gone more and more digital.
Okay.
As you go more and more digital, you will need more and more tech people, right, to support that or to make it happen, right? So initially it started with IT people being required by tech companies, but then it spread to IT people required by non-tech companies. And then it spread to non-IT people required by non-tech companies as the recovery happened and demand came back and bounced back. So actually today you have talent shortages. The most serious is in tech, but there's a severe talent shortage now across many functions, many industries, many geographical regions, a huge talent shortage. Demand is exceeding supply.
But at the end of it, you find that the total number of people available is the same. Okay. Maybe slightly going up because there are not too many training initiatives that are going on because it's all virtual other than MOOC and things like that. How is that gap going to get filled?
So I think, first of all, companies are going to come back to working from office next few months, unless there's a third wave. When that happens, in any case, you can get back into training, you can get back to old ways of working. If they don't come back totally, they'll come back 3 days a week, 2 days a week, whatever, right? Number one. Number two is, we have seen this in booms in the past, that with a little bit of lag, companies start hiring freshers and they start training them, right? So engineering colleges have been hard pressed to place their students for the last 3, 4, 5 years, the freshers, but I think that will change now, right? And companies will once again start training freshers and getting them, workplace ready. That is going to happen.
Okay. Now, this is something which just trying to get your thoughts on how this could be done. Today, you have a large number of job seekers. How do we look at this large pool of talent? How can we look at many of them becoming job creators? Something like you did several years ago in terms of venturing out.
So I think, look, that's already happening. There are close to, I think, 50 or 60,000 startups as recognized by the government of India, which means actually there are many more, could be 4 or 5 times as many more, right? So it's happening. The startup movement is real, it's tangible, it's scaled up, it's snowballing. Now, not all will succeed, not all will become large, but those that do will end up making a huge impact in terms of creating jobs. Take a look at Zomato. So Zomato has 2,500 to 3,000 people on their rolls, but they create livelihoods for over 3 lakh delivery boys.
Okay.
Right? That is significant. And this has scaled up in 1.5 years before COVID, and then went down and has come back up again now. So in a short span of 3 or 4 years, 300,000 people are earning their livelihoods through Zomato. That is significant. Swiggy's done the same thing. Uber's done the same thing. Amazon's done the same thing. Right? So startups may start small, but as they scale up, right? Now, for example, Policy Bazaar, they have now getting into the area of getting leads to insurance agents, right? Okay. So they will end up impacting the lives and livelihoods of maybe 500,000 insurance agents.
Okay.
So startups have that impact. And when the ones that succeed and scale up, or you take a look at Urban Company, which used to be called Urban Clap earlier, and there are tens of thousands of people who are getting work and earning a livelihood through Urban Company. These are all startups which have created jobs, and if not jobs, at least livelihoods.
And you think this trend will continue for some more time?
It looks like it. I see no reason. I see no reason why it should stop.
And because you talked about the companies and the large number of startups we have, in recent times we've had so many unicorns come out of India. Now, how relevant is that one? Is it something which is going to be sustainable? Okay, you've seen some, without using names as such, but you've seen some which went, and you find that there's a debate going on now whether they were overvalued at the time of the IPO and things like that. How do you look at this, and what would your advice be to the startups that are, many of them who are listening to this? Because as I mentioned to you in the green room, there are nearly 200 participants physically present in the hotel in Cochin, and over 1,000 people who are watching this virtually.
So look, let's name names. Let's not name names. Okay,
Correct,
and I have been on TV also.
Yeah,
talking about the Paytm IPO after the IPO opened.
Okay.
And look, my advice to Vijayaraghavan Sharma, which I gave publicly, that this is not the end of the world. Okay, so the IPO, the price went soft. But look at it this way, last 3 days, it's come up. It's come by about 30-35% from the bottom. It's still below IPO price, but it's come back. The gap has narrowed. And my simple thing was that, look, some very good companies had problems in the IPOs. I believe, I read somewhere, I don't have memory of it myself, that Infosys had an issue when it went public, that it had some difficulty making it past the finish line when the IPO was subscribed to. Facebook, after the listing, over the next few weeks, went down to a fraction of its offer price and then came back up again. Now, both these went on to become great companies. So look, things happen. But as long as you're executing, you have a good business model, you have got revenue, you got customers, you're growing, and there's performance quarter on quarter, it'll come back. Now, so the real issue is that Paytm has to do this. So my advice to Vijay Sharma was that forget the IPO price now, or the share price now, just focus on execution. That's what is important. I think other IPOs by and large are above the offer price, whether you look at Zomato, Policybazaar, Nykaa, I think Latent View Analytics, all very good IPOs.
For the business community and the startups and the potential entrepreneurs who are on this session, if you were to tell them, because you find a lot of the people, especially the startups, once they start, their targets are valuation. Okay, there's another thought saying that focus on your business, don't focus on valuation, or focus on what, like you said, where are the gaps? How do you fill that up? What do you think they should be focusing on in the initial couple of years and then later on?
Look, they should always focus on the customer, the business, creating valuation, creating value for the customer. The problem, however, is that, look, in an era of abundant capital, investors come in and if they like what they see and what you're doing, they'll give you a valuation, right? Now, your problem also is that if your competition is getting a valuation and raising money, willy-nilly, you have to do it. Otherwise, you will be out, you will lose out simply because you don't have enough capital. So the real thing is that if there's excess liquidity, there will be valuations going up. And that's part of the issue when there's $4 trillion injected by the Fed into the US economy. It will happen.
And, this is something which, we've always looked at. We have Indians traveling around the world, especially for people like us who are in Kerala. You will find Keralites anywhere in the world who've gone there in search of careers. Do you think there'll be a time when there will be foreign nationals looking at jobs in India? Because if you look at the tech companies and many of our new gen companies that are there, they always talk of a lack of talent. And many of them talk about, why don't we look at Eastern Europe, or we can't do this here. We need to go to the West Coast of the US to do it. Do you think there'll be a time, and what is it that we should do if we have to attract foreigners to come and work here?
Look, if you are competing in a global market for talent, for international talent, right, you then will have to first of all, pay international salaries. Because if those good people have got choices, right, you can't be paying 1/3, 1/4, 1/5, and say, come to India, cost of living is cheaper. People simply won't come. Now, having done that, I think there's a big thing which with talent around the world, and we get professors from all over the world coming to Ashoka University. Right? Having India experience on your CV is today valued globally in the long run. Right? Just like having China experience in your CV is valued and was valued perhaps slightly more, maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago, up to 2 years ago. So look, and third is you've got to improve, I think, the working conditions, physical working conditions, to give people an somewhat international experience, whether it's healthcare, whether it's education for the children, whether it's quality of housing, commuting, air quality. Now, you can't have the kind of air quality that you have in North India right now. Okay, and then say, hey, why aren't people relocating from Silicon Valley to Gurgaon?
Yeah.
It won't happen.
Okay. Well, that's, and I know, and we're coming to the last 5 minutes. I know you have to leave at 6 o'clock. Ashoka University. Okay, that's something which you were part of, the thing which founded it. Again, that thought on Ashoka University. What else are you as an individual or your company is doing on what one would call as the CSR initiatives or the social impact programs? I think you also are part of the initiative on identifying projects for the Shark Tank kind of thing for high school students, the Foundation for Young Innovators. We're looking at social initiatives there. Can you just talk to us briefly about that?
So look, there's a company CSR program.
Yeah.
And there, there's a whole CSR team, and we evaluate projects, and Ashoka University, Plaksha University, and there are a whole bunch of 35 to 40 other not-for-profits whom we support. And at a personal level, of course, Ashoka is my biggest philanthropic initiative, but there's a bunch of other stuff that I support as well, including say a Chintan, which is or say Himjoli, a whole bunch of not-for-profits in the area of environment, in the area of education, employability.
Okay. And the initiative that you've looked at, you're part of for high school students on social initiatives.
Yeah, that was actually a one-off, and it is not something I'm doing regularly. But look, I'm through TiE Delhi, I am available to mentor, and I do make myself available, and so mentoring continues.
Last couple of minutes, Kerala, we have this, there is always this feeling of, there are some things which click well. We've had this thing. What as a person who is looking at Kerala from outside, what is that you think about Kerala? What do you think about businesses in Kerala? What are the pluses and minuses there? And what do you think the Kerala government, organizations like TiE, should be doing to look at more businesses coming to the state?
So look, I think Kerala is actually well on the way and is well positioned. So number one, in an era of ESG, okay, I mean, Kerala has got a very clean environment, very green, right? Great, therefore, quality of life, great healthcare, right? Good education.
Yeah.
So all these things are pluses. And I'm also happy and I've interacted with so many young entrepreneurs from Kerala now, which was not the case 10 or 15 years ago. So I think the startup movement, entrepreneurship has taken roots in Kerala, and you have a whole bunch of new startups coming up there. And I think some very good and big companies will emerge from Kerala with locals, not business companies outside, with locals heading them and founding them, because that's already beginning to happen, and I can see it. Ultimately, the best entrepreneurs are local entrepreneurs.
Good. And any advice for those who are in the final years of college, who want to get into entrepreneurship some point of time? Should they look at a few years like what you did before they do it, or jump into startups straight away? What would you say for them?
Well, both work, right? But you will know best. I know that I was not ready for entrepreneurship until I had worked for a few years. But look, if you're ready, if you have the idea, you've done something, you have a team, why not? Dipinder Goyal worked for 2 years. A whole bunch of other people did not work at all, but they've done something, right? So there's no one size fits all. It all depends on when you are ready. When do you believe you're ready?
Good. Thank you very much, Sanjeev. I know we started a few minutes late, but I promised you we'll close at 6, and we're closing exactly at 6.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And we would like to have you physically in Trivandrum and Cochin at some point of time.
Yes, I look forward to it. I've been there a couple of times, and I look forward to
it. Thank you very much. And for me, it was a great honor and privilege to be.
No, I am honored and privileged to that TiEcon invited me. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Thank you.